Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. My name is Brittany Steers, and I'm the program manager of the Exos at Autodesk Fitness Centers. We're based here in the San Francisco Bay Area, but hopefully we're talking to people worldwide in this audience. So if you haven't heard or engaged with us before, welcome. I'm joined today with two of my colleagues, Jazzy Chadwick and Luis Morales, who are both health fitness specialists. And we're here to talk to you today about more than movement. So the 4 pillars of performance and how to integrate them to live a healthy and holistic lifestyle. So what we're going to talk about today is several different things. So we're going to start with a little bit of context about who Exos is as a company so you can understand our methodology. And then we're going to go into the 4 pillars of performance themselves. So mindset, nutrition, movement, and recovery. And then the most important part of our presentation is we're going to talk about the interactions between the 4 pillars and how they influence one another. So let's get right to it. Who is Exos? Well, Exos is a human performance company. We were founded in 1999 by Mark Verstegen, who is still our founder and president to this day. And we service over 400 client sites worldwide and counting, even during COVID. And we have over 3,500 team members worldwide. So we have our hands in all aspects of fitness and in physical therapy. So our mission as a company is to upgrade lives. And if you've been coming into our fitness centers or you've been seeing our messaging on Slack or our content on Autodesk One, you've probably seen that language. And we are here to upgrade your lives in work, in life, and sport, and to integrate those all together. So the way we do this is we have our 4 pillars of performance. So these 4 pillars are at the heart of everything we do. And those are mindset, nutrition, movement, and recovery. And this is all about holistic health and living a holistic focused lifestyle when it comes to health and wellness. So this is rooted in the understanding that all these aspects affect your overall health, and being unwell in one or ignoring one is directly going to influence all the others. So let's talk about our first pillar, which is mindset. And mindset is a very broad thing. So what we're talking about specifically is mindset is working towards a goal with a full understanding of what it will require to accomplish that goal. And that might sound pretty obvious, but think about a time you took on a task or set a goal for yourself and it ended up taking way more emotional energy, time, or financial resources than you originally expected. And that's something we want to avoid by making sure our mindset is in the right place. Mindset is also more than a positive attitude or building resilience against stress. Though those are 2 parts of mindset, as you'll see, it's much more than that. It's really about understanding how a healthy brain leads to a healthy body. So as I mentioned before, there are 7 qualities of mindset, and 2 of them I kind of already touched on, but I'm going to go through the other ones really quickly. So the first one is coachability, and that's being able to take direction from others, learn from others, and be change able, so to speak. Cognition is the physiology side of mindset. So it's how your brain works. It's motor skills, it's memory, it's social awareness. It's really how your brain works and how it impacts your life on a day-to-day basis. Grit is synonymous with resilience. So as I mentioned before, resilience is part of mindset, though it's not all of it. And this is persevering towards long-term goals without an immediate reward. And focus is our next one. And that's keeping your eye on the prize and having the discipline to keep the course and stay focused, so to speak, on what matters most. Motivation orientation is our next one. So that's intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation. So intrinsic motivation is those goals and motivations that come from deep within. So the things that really resonate with you and fire you up, versus extrinsic motivation, which is motivations that come from maybe society or culture, work expectations, family, whatever it might be, but they're coming from the outside in. Positivity is more than just seeing the world through rose-colored lenses. So it's marked by a sense of optimism and progression and knowing that things will get better, even if things aren't so great right now. And our last one is self-efficacy. So it's the belief and the conviction that you can do this, whatever this might be. So that's our basis of mindset. I'm going to turn it over to Jazzy for nutrition.
Awesome. Let's go ahead and dive right in on the next slide. So, nutrition is going to be something that is super, super personal. And nutrition is more than just eating healthy, right? It's more than just following a strict set of rules. So, we want to really create a nutrition experience that's going to be personal to you because we're going to want to design a nutritional plan to support each person's body, goals, and preferences. And those three are going to change person to person. So it's really about creating the best plan for you and you only. And fueling the body and mind to perform at a high level does require more planning, quality foods, and proper hydration. So those three are going to be pretty important to finding that quality nutrition plan that is, again, going to be personal to you. So, next slide. We're going to go ahead and talk about these nutrition qualities. So, this first one is activity nutrition. And activity nutrition is really just making sure we're fueling our body around our workouts to make sure we're going to get the most out of that movement activity. So, we want to make sure we are fueling with carbs, building with protein, protecting with fats, and preventing illnesses and diseases with fruits and vegetables. So we want to create a balanced meal every time we eat, as well as specifically around that workout, having a little bit more carbs and protein there. The next thing is energy levels. We want to make sure we're eating to sustain our energy levels throughout the day. So this is really something that we can try and even out and create an even spread throughout the day of our meals. So eating, every so often is going to sustain us through our workouts, through work performance, whatever performance means to you. We just want to make sure we have enough energy to do that. The next thing, hydration status. So hydration is going to be super important for everyone. Our bodies are made up majority of water, so we want to make sure we're giving our body what it needs. It's going to help with our joint mobility, having fluid in the joints, and with so many more things that happen in our bodies. And we want to make sure we're getting about a half of an ounce to a full ounce of water per pound of body weight. So if you weigh 120 pounds, the goal is every day gets between 60 and 120 ounces of water. This last one is the nutrient profile. And what I mean by that is kind of like I already touched on, but making sure that we're choosing quality foods and choosing the foods that are going to be best for us and our bodies according to our goals. So every body, like I said, is different, and really making sure that we are choosing the right foods based on our preferences. If we have any allergies, any sensitivities that we have, these things are going to affect the nutrient profile of the foods we choose. We do also want to make sure we're eating a variety of colors in our fruits and vegetables, so that way we can get a variety of nutrient density in each meal that we do eat. So that's the basis of nutrition. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Luis to talk about movement.
Thank you very much, Jazzy. Movement, let's dive right into it. So what defines movement? Movement refers to incidental and structured movement. And what those are basically, incidental movement is your activities of daily life, movement that doesn't really require equipment, whereas structured movement is the stuff you do in the gym or your runs and stuff like that, usually requiring equipment or it's planned out. And so both are essential for health, weight management, performance, and vitality. And regardless of work, life, and travel demands, our systemic approach to training prepares you to move well and improve the quality of your movement over time so you experience better results and less pain. And it's key there that we want to make it sustainable over time. let's get into the next slide. So here we have the components of the Exos training system. I'm going to run through each one of these just so you guys can get an idea of what these are. So pillar preparation, that's priming the critical muscles around the shoulders, torso, and hips, basically our foundation for movement in the human body. Movement preparation is our effective warm-up, basically bringing up the core temperature, preparing the nervous system for exercise, and doing anything we can to prevent injury. Next up is plyometrics, and that's using jumping, hopping, and bounding to increase force production and train the body to absorb force dynamically. Next up is movement skills, and that's learning how to move faster and more efficiently through multi-directional and linear skill drills, developing things like acceleration, deceleration, shuffling, and absolute speed. Next up is medicine ball, and the medicine ball is a really cool ballistic tool that's used to improve transfers of force and kinetic linking. Next up, everyone's favorite, strength and power. And strength and power can be described as resistance training that targets different volumes and intensities to meet the demands of both life and sport. Next up is ESD, and ESD is an acronym for Energy Systems Development. This goes beyond just cardio training to target all systems responsible for providing the energy for movement. And last but not least is regeneration. So these are strategies usually through recreational activity, massage, or cold water immersion that alleviate tension, aches and pains, and reduce stress. All right, let's move on to the next slide. All right, movement foundation. So structured movement should be foundational. What does that mean? It means that we want to think of it like the foundation of a house. The foundation of a house or a building needs to be really, really strong, so what we build on top of it doesn't eventually collapse the foundation under us. And so we also want to focus on quality of movement over time versus volume and load. So focusing on the quality of our movement first before we start to add tons of repetitions, or we go and grab the big weight. We want to be able to make sure we can move perfectly with or without weight, or with or without intense volume. And last but not least, mastering the basics. Mastering the basics will lead to better movement over time. And if we master basic movements, we can be prepared for life and protect ourselves from injury when we're exposed to incidental and structured environments. All right, let's go ahead and get into recovery.
Perfect. So let's go ahead and start off with this first slide. And the adage that we use here at Exos is work plus rest equals success. So without rest and recovery, we're not going to be able to produce those adaptations that we need to increase our performance and to upgrade our lives. So successful recovery involves proactively building resilience and responding when stress hits by implementing proper regeneration strategies that meet individual needs. So person to person, goal dependent, things are going to change. We're going to like different things, but it's just really important to incorporate this into our daily lives. Next slide, please. We're going to go ahead and dive right into the qualities of recovery. So mechanical recovery really just means that we are recovering our muscles, joints, and tissues of the body. So recovering from physical movement is basically like the basis of mechanical recovery. Next is the metabolic recovery that we need to hit, which is going to be recovering our systems that mobilize, deliver, and store energy. So these are going to be systems like our cardiovascular system, our respiratory system, anything like that we need to recover from because we do use them day to day. This next one, neural recovery, is going to be based on our nervous system. So our central nervous system, or our CNS, is generally going to be very taxed after a hard workout or after a day of work. Really anything, we want to make sure we can recover our CNS. And we also want to tap more into our parasympathetic nervous system, which is going to be that rest and digest. So that's where a lot of recovery is going to be taking place, by getting out of our heightened state of our CNS and into that parasympathetic nervous system state. That's the next thing we have is psychological stress, which is going to be relieving any mental stress that you have. So this can be stress from, your relationships, your family, your job, anything in the mind. That's where we want to make sure we're also recovering from that day to day. And this last thing, sleep. That is how we're going to be able to recover from all those other aspects. So we want to aim to get at least 8 hours a night. Between 7 and 9 is okay, but that 8 is that sweet spot because we need 4 hours of our body, or 4 hours of sleep for our body to recover, and another 4 for our mind to recover. So 4 plus 4 is 8. So that's why I want to aim for that 8 hours so we can really be the best people, the best humans that we can be in our life. And now we're going to go ahead and talk about the integrations between each pillar.
Yeah, thank you, Jazzy. So, like I said, this is going to be some of the most important part of today's presentation. So now that you have the basis of what each pillar is, let's talk about how they interact with one another. So let's start with mindset and nutrition. And on the left-hand side of the screen, we have more the physiological type interactions. And then on the right side of the screen, we have more the psychological type interactions. So as you probably know, your diet can affect many things physically. It affects your brain structure, how well your brain works, your mental performance. So, if you have lots of caffeine, you're going to feel really good. You're probably going to perform really well. And then a couple hours later, maybe you don't perform quite as well. Your diet also affects hormone production and release. And then there are many parts of your diet that can alter your cognition and your mood. So hydration, probiotic intake, dietary modifications. So are you vegan? Are you a carnivore, paleo, keto? Insert some kind of diet here that might be restrictive or take away food groups. And then supplement use is also something that can affect the brain, the way your brain works, and can also affect your mood. And then on the more psychological side of things, your nutrition is influenced by self-image, self-regulation, self-efficacy. And those three things are going to affect your food choices, your food intake, your food cravings, and it's going to make a loop. So your food choices are going to affect the way you see yourself and vice versa. So we need to make sure that our mindset is healthy because that's going to influence healthy nutrition and so on and so forth. Our next set of interactions is mindset and movement. So once again, on the more physiological side of things, physical activity, especially if you're doing a new activity or a new movement, is going to affect your brain structure and function. It's when you do something new, chances are it's going to be really hard the first time, or it's going to feel awkward. And then the more you practice, the easier it's going to be. And that's because your neurons are literally rewiring the way they attach to your muscles. So that's something really cool and why we should always be lifelong learners. And regularly moving well without pain and proper range of motion is going to affect many areas of the brain, including the centers that are responsible for learning and memory and emotion. On the other hand, painful movement, just ask any injured athlete or person who wants to get back to doing their hobby while they're still not quite recovered. It's going to result in anger, frustration, maybe even depression to some degree. So on the more psychological side of things, if we have a disciplined mindset, we're probably going to be more consistent with our movement. So that means setting goals, knowing what's required for success, and once again, finding that intrinsic motivation that really moves you and resonates with you. That's how you're going to stick with it and turn motivation into discipline. And then, like we mentioned before, a healthy brain can lead to a healthy and active body, and that's our goal. Our next integration is mindset and recovery. And as I talk about this one might seem pretty obvious to many of you. So we need to balance our psychological stress and improve our mood, as Jazzy said. And sleep is going to be the key way to do that. But there are many other ways of doing that, some of which I've listed here. But we want to remember that a lack of recovery can depress your mood over time. So think about when you've gone way too long without a vacation. People are probably commenting that you're grumpy or you're lethargic, and that when you come back from vacation, you're relaxed and you're rejuvenated and you can focus better. That's recovery. So that's what we're talking about here. And I also want to remind people that recovery will be effective if you think it'll be effective. And what I mean by that is if you don't like meditation or you don't think yoga is for you, it's probably not going to work for you. So pick the modality, with sleep is the exception here. Everybody needs sleep. But other than that, pick the modality that you think is effective for you, that you like, and that you see results from. So it's pretty personalized in this way. Next, I'll hand it over for nutrition and movement.
Awesome. So this first thing to think about with nutrition and movement is that movement is going to alter our metabolic processes and our nutritional needs. So what we mean by that is that any metabolic process is going to be the sum of the reactions in your body that build things up with the interactions in your body that break things down. So with that, we are going to be building and breaking things down a little bit differently than we normally do. So we want to make sure we are fueling our bodies enough to kind of offset that so we're still performing at our best. And we want to make sure that we are fueling very well around our workout. And because food is fuel for the body and the brain. So we need to have enough carbohydrates in order to have stored glycogen in our muscles. And that stored glycogen is what's going to be giving us some good performance in the gym. So making sure that we have carbs around our workout is going to be really important to get the most out of it. And we want to be consistently fueling throughout the day so we can consistently perform. So we want to sustain our energy throughout the day by having those full, well balanced meals with protein, carbs, some fats, and fruits and vegetables. So we want to fuel, build, protect, and prevent there. And that's going to give us the vitamins and minerals that we're going to need in order to be able to move. So we need that food to feel good and want to make us move more throughout the day, move more in the gym, anything regarding movement. And this last note here, you cannot outwork a bad diet. What do we mean by that? When we have a goal in mind, specifically with the gym, moving, our health and fitness, if we, eat salads every day for lunch at work, and then every weekend we go out with our friends and have pizza and ice cream, we're not really going to be able to see that progress because we're overeating, we're overfueling with foods that aren't going to be the best for us. So we want to make sure we're eating right for our goals in order to see the results that we want to see. Next slide, please. And so now we're going to talk about nutrition and recovery. So nutrition is going to play a huge role in recovery from our activities, especially the gym, based on that nutrition around the workout. So like I just talked about, fueling and building before and after the workout, that's going to help our body and our muscles recover. So we break down our muscles in the gym, we build them up when we go home. So making sure we're fueling properly after our workouts. And this second note here is huge. So a lack of sleep is really going to affect our food choices that we have. It's especially going to affect how much we eat. I don't know if you've ever noticed when you're really, really tired or you haven't really slept very well, you have a headache and you're trying to eat to get the headache to go away, and then it never goes away. So you just keep on eating to make it go away. That's, it's not really where we want to be. That lack of sleep is directly going to correlate to weight gain and decreases in performance. So on the flip side, if we want to support our sleep, we want to make sure that we're not having caffeine right before we go to bed. Kind of avoiding caffeine in the afternoon is going to help us have a better quality of sleep. And avoiding large meals right before we go to bed as well. That can disrupt our digestion and that can affect our sleep quality. And we can choose foods that are going to help us fall asleep. So foods with higher in magnesium like walnuts or tart cherry juice, that's going to help us get a little bit better of a night of sleep. Slide, please. Okay, movement and recovery. So these are two really important interactions here. Exercise and movement can increase our circulation and relieve that psychological stress that we talked about earlier. So this is really important because moving more can help us kind of decrease some stress and recover from some other stress in our lives. But the thing that we really need to remember here is that we have to have a balance of both movement and recovery. What happens a lot of the time is that we go to the gym or we run or we do these activities that we do it to relieve that psychological stress that we have in our life. But if we're really stressed out and then we go to the gym and we work out, working out is still a stressor on the body that we're going to have to recover from. So if we try and alleviate a stressor with another stressor, it's just going to keep on getting into a negative feedback loop that we're not going to be able to recover from. And then we're going to get a whole bunch of slew of negative effects from that. So we need to make sure that we are balancing our movement and our recovery, and that we're fully recovering from each movement session and each day. And when we do recover, it leads to a more sustainable, healthy lifestyle. When we do recover, we're going to feel a little bit better. We're going to be able to keep on doing our movement for longer periods of time throughout our life. And we do need to sleep so that we can repair the body and mind, and we can repair and recharge and upgrade all of that when we sleep enough. Keyword there, enough. We have to get our 8 hours every night, and we recover daily from physical and mental workloads. We can improve our body's ability to perform consistently over time. So we're going to, feel good. We're going to keep on upgrading our life, getting 1% better each day. So recovery is going to be really key here from movement. And now we're going to go ahead and move on to our take-home message.
Awesome. So let's wrap it up with the take-home message. Fitness is more than movement. Regardless of your health status, we can always improve in one way or another. So let's take a moment for you personally, think about what pillar is your strongest, and then take a moment and see which pillar may need a little bit more attention in your life. You don't have to focus on each pillar every day, but it is important to understand how they are connected and influence your overall well-being. It's also important to understand how the decisions we make influence the 4 pillars and our overall well-being as well. And then last but not least, Mark Verstegen, the president and founder of Exos, in his words, the pillars are like the legs of a stool. So if one or more pillars are not congruent with the rest, the stool does not function properly. All right, last slide here. So if you have questions, we would love to hear them and also answer them. So you can drop them in the comments below. Feel free to reach out to us on Slack, or you can contact us at club111team@autodesk.com. We hope you enjoyed this presentation, and thank you again so much for watching.